Hello, everyone. Today we'll be discussing relationship readiness. How are you today? My name is Charmalie, also known as Lena Cola. If you're new to this platform, welcome. If you're always here, it's good to have you again. On this platform, we discuss psychological and social issues affecting humanity, such as depression, anxiety, health, and wellness, and other topics. If any of these interest you, feel free to subscribe, click the post notification bell for alerts, and follow our page. Like and share them with your friends and families, and comment below to introduce yourselves on this topic we are discussing today. We will be happy to hear from you. You know, the Word of God says in First Thessalonians 5, verse 11, therefore, encourage one another and build one another up. Encouraging and inspiring your neighbors is an important part of loving yourself. Providing encouragement and inspiration is doubly important because most people are going through a lot these days. And some may just need the important information that we have to share to help them along their journey. Our guest today is Mrs. Hortensia Johnson Robinson. Hortensia and her husband, Dr. Marlon Robinson, are founders of Family and Point LLC, a ministry that empowers and nurtures family to grow in love, faith, and hope. Together, they have three wonderful children, and Mrs. Robinson has set out to educate, encourage, and inspire families to remain faithful and to the calling of the biblical role of family and experience the peace and joy that comes with God's way. Mrs. Robinson is very passionate about seeing families bloom amidst the ever growing challenges that we have in this world. She is a certified school counselor with a Master of Science in Counseling from Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, and holds a Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education from Northern Caribbean University in Jamaica. In 2013, Hortensia got inducted into Chi Sigma Iota, the International Honor Society for Counselors. So Mrs. Robinson has co-authored articles on marriage and children with her husband and speaks on women and mentorship, relationships, parenting, schooling, mothering, and youth challenges and other topics. Hortensia's greatest desire is to see families grow in faith, love, and hope. Today, we are going to be discussing relationship readiness. And if you have your questions, you can ask them in the end of this live session. She will be very happy to answer them. Hortensia, welcome. It's good to have you. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Charmalie. It's a privilege and pleasure to be on this platform. I am doing well. So excited to be here, of course, and
Yeah,
just, ready to go. And again, thanks for that lovely introduction.
you're most welcome. Let's dive right in. And we're going to be doing some deep diving right now. Can we really be ready for relationships?
Actually, yes, we can be ready for relationships, and to a great extent as well. Um, Preparation will give you that, as they would say, that leg up. It gives you, will not start at a deficit. It gives you a greater advantage to be prepared. As a matter of fact, Purdue University did a research on persons who felt like they were more prepared for relationships, and what they found is that they were more confident and they were more committed because of that, preparation. And
Right.
we do prepare for a lot of things. We prepare for emergency drills. We prepare for weddings. Sometimes people are preparing for weddings for years, 2 years, and even more just for that. So, what about a relationship that actually lasts, much longer and it's
Yeah.
a lifetime thing. It's way more important, than many things that we try to prepare for. And this whole idea of relationship readiness as well, drawing from my background, we have what is called college and career readiness,
Yeah.
or career development and post-secondary readiness. And in this, they actually pound in students' head from kindergarten all the way up before they actually leave, you
Yeah.
know, to high school, because they want them to be prepared what career path you're going into. They're drilling that what college will you take, and I mean from early on it's being introduced. And
Awesome.
yes, and so the thing is, we find that people are more ready for their careers, and so they're passionate, and people tie their identities to their career. If they're not in a career, they don't feel well, or where am I going, they say they don't find their purpose. But guess what, sadly, they're not prepared for a relationship as they should.
Right.
Many think, fantasy, think it's a fantasy, it's a Cinderella kind of story, emotional and all of that. Nothing is wrong with emotions, but a lot of times the Facebook reels and all of these things just really give misleading as to where relationships being prepared.
I started from the movies, the Hollywood movies, right?
Yes,
Yes, that's the driver for how we live our lives these days.
yes,
But
getting
but sorry, go right ahead.
no, go ahead. No, I was saying yes. I was agreeing with you actually.
Okay.
Getting all the roses every day, falling in. You know what I mean? Being swept off your feet, and the
Mhm.
fancies, crying at the weddings, and all of that. When relationship actually takes grit and stamina, and you're gonna need more than that.
Right. But how can an individual best be prepared for a relationship? What are some of the things that you do to prepare?
Okay. Well, like I said, these days we actually emphasize academics a lot and exclude other things. And, that's really, of course, not good. So I believe that training starts from childhood. If you're
Yeah.
preparing from youth, and not that you're going to get married as a child or youth, that's a no, but that's where the preparation starts. How does it start? Chores. The Bible speaks about, faithful in small things. If you're
Yeah.
faithful, then you'll be faithful in bigger things.
In much.
He that
Yeah.
is, yes, he that is faithful in little will be faithful in much. So
Yeah.
starting from there, those are the things. Building up honesty and integrity in what you do, that is very important. Be knowledgeable. Be
Yeah.
knowledgeable about, wisdom comes from God, and it's not the chasing after material things that's going to hold. So inform yourselves, like we just spoke about the relationship. And just jumping back to the church, because I have I'm thinking about a lot of things here. Someone said that they was just sharing out with a lot of people, just sharing out that they left their home and was not able to wash something as basic as that,
Oh,
laundry, and they felt that they would ruin their clothes, and so they kept going back home, you
oh
know
my gosh.
yes, with the laundry and everything. And so those are the things: wash, cook, and clean. And it's not just for females. Boys need to know how to
Boys.
take care of
Mm-hmm.
themselves, yeah, how to maintain a home. That's going
Right.
to be important, in a relationship. You
Yes.
also want to, like I said, you're arming yourself with knowledge. There are so many things out there now. People have the podcasting, you have the YouTube telling you certain little things here. You want to be careful to read
Yeah.
some solid books.
Mhm.
And down the line, we can probably give some of those ones. Marriage is it's a spiritual institution, right? And so it's not an idea coming from the world or the government or the community, or it's coming actually from God.
God.
So
Yeah.
that's important. How are we going to approach it? So read God's words. That's important in preparation for
So
marriage.
many people are not doing that these days. So
No, but guess what? They go and listen to the billionaires, the millionaires, and the billionaires telling you how to become millionaires. And
right.
they quote, I notice if you sit and listen to them, they quote a lot of scriptures.
Yes,
A
true.
lot of
And
scriptures.
they put God first. They
Yes.
do. I'm so surprised.
Yes. But and the thing is, even if they don't, some of them don't, they apply the
They
biblical
apply the
principles.
principles.
You
Yes.
know? because God
True.
is like that. He share out
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Talk to mentors. So say for example, you're a young person now, you look around maybe in your community or where you are or in your home, you don't have much of a good example.
True.
But you can surround yourself with see if you can seek out some mentors. Maybe at your church you may see a couple that you admire, maybe
Mhm.
your neighbor, and you can find out, talk to them. um, Improve your skills.
What kind of skills you're talking about here?
Improve your
Is it
skills like
communication skills?
that. You can improve on that too. We can always grow. Some people don't listen. When other persons are talking, they feel, it's just they just want to make their point. That's not proper,
Yeah.
communication. But you're going to be using money every day, so why not learn some financial skills?
Ah,
That's a big challenge in marriages. That people, this one just use up all the money, no planning, or they have always just done things this way and just do it. So we can learn financial skills. I spoke about, you're gonna eat every day. Can you cook? These are, sounds basic, but it
yeah.
goes a long way in terms of, a relationship. Learn how to so you learn, those are the things. If you need, and you need to go in there with something. You have
Mm.
some type of, maybe it's a degree, maybe you're entering with any type of skill, dressmaking, whatever. It can actually help you in the long run. So I would say arm yourself with some skills.
Yes.
Seminars are out there. Sometimes you bypass things until it's, oh, I want to get married, and you just jump in. But take some time to attend some relation. This is one. We're right here. How many people? We don't
Yes.
wait until last minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
Socialize with other people. Don't
Hmm.
just get in a relationship every minute. You jump in bed with this one and out
One
of
and
bed.
that one.
No. Learn, spend some time to explore yourself. When you're single, you can make some decisions on your own. You can
Yes.
travel, have some plans as well for yourself. Parenting might come up. You may end up having children. So do a little of that in preparing. And then, of course, you would want to do some premarital counseling if time. So all of that is definitely going to lead you in the right direction.
Yes. I'm listening to the point that you just made, that children are going to be involved. One of the major problems that we find these days is that unprepared women or men go into relationships, and then the babies come, right?
Yes.
And there is not enough guidance to teach morals and principle or the right things. As you say, you start them from early to uh to wash, cook,
Mhm.
clean. That will not be taught because uh it's a different generation, and this generation has a different way of responding to children. These children nowadays have a totally different way of responding to parents. So that is a very valid and important point that you make.
And
Imagine.
so, sorry,
Yes.
I wanted to add, as you mentioned, I mean, we are in charge of the next generation,
Yes.
So it's what we are allowing. People will say, oh, these children nowadays. But who is in charge of these children? If anything happened to them, then the next thing you know, you're standing before a judge. And yeah, I mean, they're going to
True.
be saying, ma'am, who
True.
are sir, who is a parent here? You have to give an account.
Yeah.
And mostly, I always say, give an account to God, because the judge may not see you or no, but we are accountable for what
Yes.
we do. And that's what I'm saying. We can't just jump into it because it's going to take grit and work. And children, they take work. And when they
Yes.
come in the relationship, that's another huge transition.
That's true. Very, very true. Donna Campbell, it's very good to have you from Facebook. And Donna said applying the biblical principles for sure. So
Yes.
she's agreeing to
Yes.
this, that you cannot have a wholesome family without the word of God.
Amen. Yes.
All right. So in our relationships these days, many people come expecting to so many things. Do you believe we can have too many of a high expectation in relationships?
Well,
'Cause-
well, in terms of expecting, I believe that most of the times our expectations are too low. you know. And of course, yes, and of course we must and we I think we have also have a blog on that on Family and Point, that
Point.
when you have high expectations, then you have a better chance of being treated better. You know, the lower your expectations are, you will be treated poorly. And
But
people, yeah, go ahead.
but don't you think you said you'll be treated poorly? So to me, it's like it will be a constant fight in the relationship. Oh, your expectations are too high. This is not what I'm used to. It will be a constant war.
Well,
How do you?
there's the thing is, remember, no, we're talking about actually going in to the
In
relationship for the
yes,
expectations. So
right,
going in is one thing, and being in there is another thing.
right.
So you set your expectations high when you're going in. And we're not talking about unrealistic expectations. Those are different. You know, we're talking because unrealistic expectations, since I'm going there, let's just go there a little bit. It could be that the person is so needy because they may never had much attention in their childhood, as you know, we're talking about trauma. Yeah.
Yes,
And so they're still trying to find that, fulfillment there. Somebody else may be very critical, overly critical, and everything they just fault finding. And it could
yes,
be something that they actually learned, and maybe it's a valid thing that they have, but they don't realize it's overbearing. You understand?
right,
So that
right.
could be like, being unrealistic. Having high expectations, as Gottman also mentions that too. It's that is what it picks it up in terms of how you're actually treated. And my husband has a little thing that he would say: if your expectation is at the treetop and you release your parachute, you
Yeah,
don't have far to go.
that's wise.
But if it's higher than that, then you have a little way and a little wise to kind of,
Yeah,
tone down. So yes, we should really examine ourselves. And I want to kind of go in on this. That's a good question.
yes,
um, in today's society, cultures will say men needs their need men their or a man needs food and sex. That's what he needs, right?
yeah,
And they'll say a woman needs security. And while you may have those things, I would say, okay, a man, you know what a man number one needs is God. That's what they need.
yes,
And women don't only need security or money. We need men with integrity, men who
yeah.
are honest, men who have backbone and who we stand.
True,
And
true.
women and men need women as well who are trustworthy. The Bible says that in Proverbs that his heart safely trusts in her. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have to be careful, who we're listening to. So some people set the expectation very flat, and materialism and all of that, it won't sustain any relationship. You understand? But if we have those expectations that are realistic, expecting honesty, is that too high? You think that is too
No, no, that is
high?
not too high. That's one of the major component that we need in a relationship to thrive.
Yeah.
We need that honesty. If you're not honest, how are you going to be comfortable with that individual? I don't see it happening, right? But people have a pretentious side where they don't want other persons to see who they really are.
Hmm.
In this case, it is possible to identify. In that case, is it possible to identify red flags?
Well, yes. Basically, when you're talking to someone, one of the things is that what you see is what you're gonna get, or a little bit less, or a little less. So they're gonna put out their best,
At the
and
beginning,
at the
no?
beginning, yes, is your best. I mean, you're trying to impress each other. So you're going to try to be the best person that you can be. So
Yeah,
maybe that may in the end you might say, well, you were pretending. You really fooled me.
that's when they change.
That's when.
When they change, it's like hard for you to accept because this is not the person you got in a relationship with.
Yes.
Yeah,
So yeah, but the truth is, it's they got married and not, or they're in a relationship and are getting married, because that's where we're expecting a man and a woman to end in marriage. You're not just into a relationship for into a relationship's sake. It's how it's
right.
getting somewhere, right? But
Yeah.
we have to remember that when in a relationship, you're each other's mirror.
Yes, and it
So
will bring out the best or the worst in
yes,
you.
while your mirror, they're gonna show and say, this is what you truly, this is what you think you are, but this is what you are. It's what you're
Yeah.
showing, you
Right.
know. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. So yes, the red flags, you can identify red flags, and the I think Proverbs tells us that whoever walks in integrity
Mm-hmm.
walks securely, but
Amen.
whoever takes crooked paths will be found out. You know,
Right.
yes. So if the pretentious is going to come to light, and pay attention, because with
Well,
red flags, some people don't want to pay attention, and you can
mm,
identify liars. We just talk about that. People are
right.
being jealous,
Right.
manipulative, and we can. But seems like you had a question.
No, I was going to say sometimes you find out those things when it's too late. You're already married. What do you do with that? You know?
That is the
Um,
thing that I'm
yeah,
saying. So I am not sure unless that person was really deceitful.
yeah,
Um, Most of the times you will see it. You will see little things. Don't brush it off. The
yeah,
person is selfish, wanting to do things their way. They don't want to compromise. And you're like, oh, maybe he's not feeling so whatever. Or
yes,
they're not
yeah,
showing up for you, and you don't realize they're not showing up. You have
yes,
a graduation, they don't make support for your family, they don't make it. Maybe you have somebody had a loss in your family. Maybe you
yes.
even call them and say, can you meet me here in another week and we do this? And they promise and they're not showing up. And you just say, okay, you brush it off. And then when you get married, and they're not showing up, then is when you start to pull out all the stops. It's late.
Oh,
You know
word.
what I'm saying? That's when you
Yes,
start to really, because of the emotions and all the gooey feeling, and you
yes.
just kind of you weren't thinking straight. So you
Right,
just
right.
all right. So you have to be. That's another thing that we have to guard against as well. But
Yes. Donna Campbell, we can't ignore this. I was saying we could ask the questions at the end, but we have to interact with these wonderful
yes,
people that are in the live. Donna Campbell is asking a question here. She said, what about having these expectations like trust, but you yourself struggle with trust or desire in a partner that is consistent with their devotional life, but you yourself struggle with this? Is this considered as unrealistic? What a powerful question. Is it unrealistic? You're expecting your partner to be the good person, do the devotional. You're expecting them to, you know, be a certain way that is so positive, but you yourself struggles with it. Is this unrealistic expectation?
Well, you're trying to, well, yeah, in a sense, in the sense that we don't expect our partners to fix us. You can't go into a relationship expecting that they're going to fix you, and this person may be, you're going too much, you're depending on this person too much. It almost be like your savior. You know what I'm saying? When
Yeah.
you are not taking responsibility, but it doesn't mean that you can't have that, longing or that expectation that this person does that,
So
because one
my
person
friend,
may be
isn't this
lying.
a form of a form of hypocrisy?
Yeah,
Yes,
well,
it's
yes, it is.
hypocrisy.
It is, because you might be lying. Some people are lying and they expect you to tell the truth. You know what you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yes, it is. But like I said, there's nothing wrong in desiring good of
good.
somebody else. But you
That's
should not expect that that person should try to fix you.
right.
It's not fair, and it's too much to put on one person. But
True.
together you can say, you know what, we're both struggling here. um let's us examine ourselves and encourage each other, as you said.
Yes.
As the scriptures say, let's
Yes.
examine ourselves and
Yes.
encourage each other.
And the word of God says to take what, the
Get him
plank
on.
out of
Yeah.
out of your eyes before
Yeah.
you try to pull it from somebody else's eyes.
Yeah.
It's just saying, you know what, look at yourselves, just see what you can introspectively change to become a better person than you were yesterday, and be that better person. I hope we answered your question, Donna. Just be the best you can be. A relationship takes time, it's a growing process. And, life is about change, life is about becoming the better version of yourself. And life is about growing. If you're not growing, you're not learning. And that will, actually have problems. You'll have problems in your relationship that way, right? Yeah. So, what are some questions that you should ask before entering a relationship? Because as far as you laid out the different things that we have to do, and how we have to prepare, this relationship thing is a very serious thing, Hortensia.
It is.
It,
It
it
is. And
is.
I'm being like, hitting it straightforward here. It's more like a training. But when
Yes.
you're in it, it takes, like we said, a lot of patience. And yes, Donna
Mhm.
hit on number one in, oh, I think that was just
Yes, I'm just
repeating.
putting
Yes.
them. Yes.
But
Come in with your questions, guys. Sorry about that.
yes, that's
Yeah.
fine. You can ask if you're a Christian, you may want to ask them, do you have a relationship with the Lord? And it's not just going to church. Are you really do you have a relationship with the Lord? You may also want to ask them, are you in a relationship? Some people come to you and they already are in a relationship, and maybe they're saying, "Oh, my divorce is in the courts." You're still married. You
I'm
know what
still
I'm
married.
saying? Yeah.
Hmm.
Some people, they may be online, and maybe you found them online because that's a lot of thing right there. Because even
Yeah.
my husband and I, that's where we reconnected in terms of
Yes.
I knew him before, and then we had the online platform to connect on.
Right.
Ask
Right.
them, ask the person. And some people are on like dating sites. Maybe you met them in a dating site. Ask them, are you dating anybody else in the dating site? Why are you on here? Are you? Yeah, because people are on there for different reasons.
For different reasons. That's true.
You know,
It's true.
ask them questions like, what are your expectations in the relationship? Where are
Mm.
we going? I've seen people in relationship 3 years and they don't know where the person, like, they don't know what is going on in the
Five
relationship.
years too.
Okay, five. Yeah, like, where is this going? They
Going.
they
Hmm.
don't ask a question. They don't know. The woman probably, well, I wish you would, but I don't know. They're scared to ask a
Ask,
question
yeah.
of where is this going. So that means they're having very low expectations. You want to raise your expectation there.
It's
How do you see yourself in another 3 years? Ask them the questions. Don't be afraid, because they may say, well, you might be thinking marriage, and they may say, well, in another 3 years, I'll see myself playing football in Brazil. And you're looking at yourself like, oh no, what's going on here? Because you may have a different plan, or you may plan to get married in a year, but you realize this person is not nowhere near there. So, I mean, those are not all in all, but good questions to just ask there when you're going into a relationship.
So, what about finances? You have to ask questions about finances.
Well, in terms of you, as you're getting in, those are things that you may see. Yes, you can ask that. Some people are indebted. Because here I'm looking at relationship, but
Mhm.
are we about to get married and you're looking at certain things? Yeah, ask them about their finances. Some people have like $300,000 in debt.
And that will become yours if you're
It
married. Huh?
Yes, and it's not like
Yes.
they're studying to be a doctor or something. Like, they got all of this debt and you cannot see, why that's going to be problematic. So you can
Right.
ask them those questions. You can find out their family history.
Right.
Find out about their family history. You can learn from their family history. You can see some patterns there. If find out, because some people will hide you until the last minute.
But some relationships are online. How are you gonna see the family patterns in
Well,
this situation?
in terms of the online, listen, that's a whole other ball game, and a sister. That's another topic. But the online thing now, at some point, you are going to meet. And at some point, you still can ask those questions about family, and you
Yeah.
can see their family online too. A lot of things are visible, and some of that holds back marriage because people will be there saying, okay, this is his auntie, and going to scroll on to the auntie's
Yeah.
page, and then you get shocked. And so, or this is his mother or whatever. So things are there, and it's a lot of people are visible online.
Yes.
You may even go and listen to a talk like this from their
Yes.
mother or whatever. So you can get more insight.
Yes. Well, that is good. That is good. And I agree with you because if I may um, be personal, when my husband and we were dating, I spoke to his mother.
Mhm.
I made sure to talk to family members so I can get a feel of who they are and how they
Mhm.
are. and you talk to their friends.
Okay.
When you talk to their friends, you will
Mm-hmm.
know exactly who they are. Trust me on
Yes.
that.
Yes.
My
And that's,
dear,
as you said, that's part of
yes,
the another thing with red flags too. When they don't
yeah,
have any friends,
friends,
be careful. Like, okay, you don't have any
yeah,
friends. Yeah, so that's a good one, Charmely. Yeah, that's a good
yes,
one that you pointed out. Talk
thank
to your
you.
friends because that's one of the things
Yes,
that I did too. Getting to know the friend, and I did a little
friends and
do my little background check.
yes,
Letting my relative go and find out about
yes,
what can you find out from about this person. That's my
yes,
husband. What can you find out? Go find out. So don't be afraid. Some people are afraid to ask the hard questions, but it's
yes,
better to ask it early than
yes,
way down in the you felt like, okay, I was deceived or I was naive. Why didn't I do this?
yes, yes. And I want the young people. I mean, this is for everybody, and I want you all to pay attention to this, because honestly, some of us learn the hard way of entering one relationship to the next, and still can't find a middle ground. This is the kind of video, for us to learn the great way, learn God's way, because we
Yes.
are here teaching God's way, the principle of the Bible, and things that you need to do. First of all, is to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Here is the other question that is really loaded, a question that honestly, it is it will bring a lot of uh, painful feelings to those who are watching right now, but I'm going to ask it anyway. We all have skeleton in our closet, and we grow up with unattended issues such as childhood abuse, abandonment issues, and I mentioned earlier on broken relationships, one after the other. When everyone has let you down, my sister, how do you rebuild trust? And Ashley, Phil Watts, we will be coming to your question in a minute. But how do you rebuild trust? Right? This is, take it away, sister, because
Well, we
this is tugging on my heart, because
yes,
you know,
yes, it's something. Trust is it's vital to
mm,
any relationship, and apart from the fact that human resilience, that's one thing.
yeah,
But guess what? We mentioned earlier in Donna's question. Don't try to go in a relationship to fix your issues.
yes,
You feel like that, don't or fix it before. In other words, get the help that you need before. So all the brokenness, the abandonment, maybe it's you're grieving. So if
yes,
you're grieving, guess what's going to happen? Your in your brain, your amygdala is going to take over. The base of your brain is going to be reasoning instead of your
right,
frontal lobe, and you don't
mm-hmm,
want that. You want, I mean, it's going to be making decision, not reasoning. That's your amygdala, but your frontal lobe is where it makes the decisions. You want to be able to control your emotions, bring yourself to a point where you are thinking logically. So
yeah,
go through counseling and get the help that you need. It may point out triggers,
right,
some awareness that you need.
mm,
It may come to life because you don't want to keep going into that broken cycle of
yes,
choosing the same type of, that person
yes, yes,
over and over. So
mm,
take a break. It's fine to take a break and to spend some time healing. So you know what? The way I am right now, I'm a mess, and I'm not ready to embrace anybody else. But also, when the time comes, remember that everybody is different. And even though this person hurt you, Tom or
yeah,
whoever,
yes,
or Ashley, remember this other person is different. So as Jamaicans would say, you can't take one fat fry the other, fry everybody.
that's true,
So
that's true,
yeah, so you also have to understand that this person may trigger you, but you remember, oh no, this is not Tom, somebody else.
yes, if somebody,
Because yes, because maybe because you had a big fallout and you had an
yeah,
argument, and this person now is not having a disagreement with you. You feel like the same thing is going to happen. They're going to walk
mm-hmm,
out, or they're going to,
mm-hmm,
you know. But you
true,
have to know, yes, ground yourself, and prayer is so healing. Talk to God. A
true,
lot of people don't want it. Some people don't want to hear that, but it brings so much healing and so much peace. And some things we have because we don't we have not because we ask not.
Ask not. Yes.
So all of that put together can help us to start trusting again, because a relationship is a beautiful thing.
Right.
So we can heal again. And if you feel like, okay, not at like I said, it's a choice. You don't have to don't rush up in anything. Take your time and heal.
Yes. Yes. Healing is very important. If I may help to magnify that, you have to heal. But know that when you go into the relationship and the triggers come, as you mentioned, then you will question things. But at this point, it is when you need to be silent and say, okay, yes, this is not Harry, this is John. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yes, and that will help you along. Sometimes I have to zip my lips, you know. I'm not I'm very transparent with the fact that I have abandonment or had abandonment issues that I had to seek counseling for. You
Hmm.
have to take care of you, right?
Yes.
And in order for you to be good to your neighbors, you have to be good to yourself.
Mhm.
Let's move to the next question on the screen. Ashni Philwatts from Facebook is asking if a potential marriage comes out of if a potential marriage can come out of a 3 days of knowing someone. Do you want to go answer that?
I would say, well, that's a good question. And I would say that for me, 3 days is just really short. It's a very short time to get to know somebody. You want
Yes.
to get to know them some more.
Mhm.
Usually, you have arranged marriages, and those arranged marriages, it doesn't come by happenstance. They probably never met, but those persons who are bringing them together know them very well. You know what I mean? So they
Right.
would have had time, and it's not a 3 day. And of course, persons probably would have met 3 days and had that. It's probably, if you're looking for something, is a needle in a haystack per se. But
Mhm.
3 days is not enough time for you, because you remember now, you want to make sure that you're making this decision. At the end of the day, you're accountable. You're
Right.
accountable for what your actions, and you hold yourself accountable, and don't say, but we only had 3 days. You made it 3 days. There was no rush. What was happening? Was the world ending, or did you have a 3 days and the doctor gave you 3 days and like, let's just do this and so forth? No. And even then you would not want to probably do something like that. So the 3 days, it's time to start to talk to somebody, to socialize, but it's not
Yes.
time to get married. I think that's very short.
Unless may I speak
Go
on what you're
ahead. Of
saying?
course.
Unless God miraculously put you together, because that
We
can
had that.
happen,
We had that. Yeah, because
eh,
you know that history in the Bible. But
right? That's where I'm coming from.
well, you know what? Some people may meet 3 days,
Yes,
and in their mind they're like, okay, yes, but they don't marry after three. Down the road they say, you know what? After 3 days, I knew that
maybe
this
8 days.
person.
8 days. I know people have been married 8 days
That's
and they live together for 30 something years, 40 something
okay.
years.
So you see,
So
there you go. It's a choice. But
yes.
like I said, I would want to give my. I don't know what in the world would be happening while I would have to dive into a 3 day
So
marriage.
quickly. Yes. That is so true. But does a person have to be in love to be in a relationship, or relationships are more of a principle?
Okay,
Is it more
well,
about principle?
yes, people get into relationships for different reasons, and of course it will end, a lot of them ending get you end up getting married for some of the very same reasons that you went
Mm,
into the
yeah.
relationship for.
Yeah.
For example, some people get in the relationship for sex, some of them for, yeah, some of them, some of them for material gain,
Yeah.
for
Wow.
business purposes, some
Mm,
people for peer pressure, some for status, infatuation. But when it comes on to love, well, whatever the point is, whatever the reason that you went into marriage, you are called to love that
right.
person. So
Right.
if you went in there because of riches, if you went in there for whatever reason, the point is now you would have already been married.
Yes.
You are expected to love,
Right.
right? As the Bible says, husband, love your wife,
Right.
love
Yes.
one another. It's a command. So
Right.
there's no excuse. And that's why I'm saying you have to be very careful going in. And yes, love is a principle, a high and holy principle.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think, Mrs. White mentions, Ellen White mentions that love is a high and it's a holy principle. A lot
Right.
of times we're told that, okay, it's just the emotional side that people focus on. But
Yeah.
it has the spiritual side. Love it's spiritual, emotional, physical, mental. So you have all of that into the inside the love. And that is why you can't just jump up and leave somebody and say, well, I don't feel this way. No,
Right.
it's a institution that you have gone into, and the way it was designed by God to function, it's not some. That's why I'm saying teenagers and so who are jumping into relationships, and people are just allowing them to carry on. There's
Right.
a lot of brokenness that will happen, and of course,
Mhm.
sometimes children end up happening. So it's very serious. It's a principle. Yes, you grow in love.
Right.
And these days, you have humanistic approach where I'm
Mhm.
in there to fulfill myself and to do this and if I don't feel fulfilled, if my needs are not met, I'm going to leave. You see,
Wow.
that's a wrong
Awesome.
approach. Yeah,
So
that's a wrong.
it's more about serving the other person and
Yes,
realizing that you're on the same side as that person.
yes, it's
I will
more
allow
of,
it to us. Yeah.
yes, you hit the nail on the head right there. It's more of serving, and not serving yourself. And that is a hard thing to wrap your mind around because the movies doesn't show that. The humanistic people are saying you have your needs, and when you're self-actualized and this and that, then
Mhm.
this person now must be water. And I'm not saying these things should not happen because you're in a relationship. Friendship, which is the
Right. Yes.
emotional side, is key,
Yeah.
but your relationship will not be sustained only on the emotional. It can't be sustained only on the physical.
Yes.
So because it's a principle, and you know what, too, Charmely, I think when I said the persons who wrote the vows many many years ago, the married for in sickness and in health, I
No.
said
Yeah.
they had a history, and
Yeah.
realized that people may just cop out, and
Drop
that
out.
is,
Yes.
yeah, like, okay, this person's sick. What am I gonna do now? What am I supposed to do? Just
Yeah.
and they just leave. But the
Yeah.
principle, it's because marriage is really a spiritual institution from God. the,
Hmm.
the right thing. It's not how you feel. People say, "Oh, he doesn't make. I'm not feeling happy anymore.
Right.
Like my happiness. What am I supposed to do if I'm not happy?" No. And I'm not saying you're supposed to be sad. Don't get me wrong. But the thing is it right? You may not be happy about what is going on, but is it right to leave somebody sick? You know what? I'm just making a point here.
That is true. Leave them when they are sick.
Yeah. When is the time when you said, "I will cherish you"? You are there regardless if you're sick or not, regardless of the state that you're in, whether you're rich or you're poor. So you
Yes.
marry for material thing, now the money gone, I can't be in. That's not, so the marriage is sacred. And if you
Yeah.
realize society, they married today, divorced tomorrow, and that is just a bad reflection of who God is. And
Yes.
this institution should be one to reflect God, and not everybody should jump up in it. If you're not, prepare yourself and remember, it takes grit, it's hard work, but it's a
Yes.
beautiful thing to love
It's a
and to be
beautiful
cared for.
thing. It is
Yes.
indeed, indeed. Dr. Marlon Robinson, your husband, asked, or oh, he didn't ask a
Oh yeah.
question. He said 3 days should be the
Exception.
exception and not the rule. 4 years for a career, but 3 days for a marriage? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's how I picture him saying it.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. No, you have to prepare.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes, Dr.
Yeah,
Marlon,
yes.
absolutely not.
Yes, yes. So you
Yes.
see how, and so, like, you going right back. Thanks, Marlon, for that. It goes right back to what we're saying. What the
Mhm.
society has trivialized the marriage
Right.
and put it into this and the culture, and we have to, yeah, but just put it into a fly by night type of thing. But your
Yeah,
career, and people will lose their marriage over their career because that's what
that's
they're
true.
taught. That this
Mhm.
is so important. You will lose your people and you serve yourself. Mothers will leave their children. because their career, they have to show themselves important because the
Right.
career is tied to that. So the whole thing, we have to examine ourselves and say, who are we listening to?
Yeah.
Where are we drinking from? Are you drinking from a
Right.
broken system or the
Mm.
fountain of living waters? Because
Oh, mercy.
oh yeah, your life will be stagnant if you are, and you'll be
Right.
tied to the wrong things. I mean, so many people tell you they divorce, and at the end they look back and they said, I should have treated my wife better, or I should have treated. They look back, and even though they're in one that
Regrets.
is, yeah,
Hmm.
regret, and they said they're living well with this one, they still go back and look and say,
Right.
I was
Yes.
selfish. I was not
Mm-hmm.
doing right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes they don't learn. They go back over the same cycle.
Mhm.
But we have come to the end of this discussion. I
Yes.
wish we could go on some more because it's so very interesting. It is lively. You are interacting with us. The
Yes.
amazing M&G from YouTube, Ashley Phil Watts, Cleon Thompson, and Donna Campbell. Thank you so much for interacting with us today. I'm going to say today because they're going to be watching this again. I want you to give your final words, Mrs. Robinson, on relationship readiness.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
And relationship, it calls for patience, and
Yes.
it's more than what we are told, and it needs, yes, great, it needs preparation. We need to be ready. If not, we will be disappointed. So we need to take the time to be ready. It's sacred. It's a sacred space that we're going into, where
Yeah.
fruits will be produced: patience, kindness, long suffering, gentleness. All of those will, and you're becoming gold. And it's not a on the beach type of situation. Like you're walking basically like you're walking in a furnace. I'm not just saying it's a it's a
Mm-hmm.
balance, right? But I want
Yes.
you to know that families are the fabric of society, and the society reflects what's happening in the home. You're building a generational legacy when you choose a partner. And so don't just run and choose. You will be creating a lifetime together. I would say,
Yes.
with God's help, prepare yourself and choose wisely.
Wow. Choose wisely.
Yeah.
And that will mitigate a lot of the stress that we would, meet upon in the relationship. Prepare yourself. And we're still not done because I don't want to leave any question hanging. Donna said, Donna said, we're gonna go, right? And any questions after this one, maybe we can ask it later on because Mrs. Robinson did give her last words. But Donna has a burning question or two. She said, can some questions that you ask before going in the relationship create emotional attachment that's hard to break if you later realize that this relationship is not for you? So, in essence, she's making a point. In essence, can you overshare too early? And when should you begin to ask these deep questions?
Oh,
Mm,
definitely, yes. I mean, you can overshare. People do that a lot of times. So you have to set up boundaries.
mhm.
And again, it depends. People, a lot of persons have been through a lot in their life. And childhood, we have to pay attention to children, because whatever you're exposed to in terms of your childhood, you might be very, just open, especially those who have been abused. They can just be oversharing and just,
Yeah,
be just too open. So, or pattern learn. So boundaries, that is very important. But again, you are in control of your choices. So,
right,
of course, when you get tied up emotionally, and that's why when I say reserve your body, especially physically, because
right,
when you get it becomes harder to say no. But like I said, you can't say, I'm going to marry to this person because I'm feeling pity or sorry for this person,
right,
or because that's where you have to intelligently, like I said, it's a generation, it's a legacy that you are building. And do you want to start something on pity and, oh, we're so tied up now, but I know this is not going to work, but years to come, this is going to be your children's great great grandfather or great
mhm,
grandmother, and you look at this, the legacy that you would have left, because You did not want to take the responsibility to say, this is not for me. And I'm not saying it's easy. And that's why prayer, you have to pray, because
Right.
this is a spiritual attacks do happen. And we
Right.
don't wrestle with flesh and blood, you know? And so it can be really hard to say no. But I mean, get some praying people to help you, whatever you have to do, and you can. If you have to move and change your location, you have to do that, to
Yeah.
think clearly, because like I said, you don't want to start a relationship on pity, and in the end you can tell the
That's
person,
true.
I marry you because I
I
pity
was
you, or
sorry.
sorry for you, or my emotions or whatever was getting tied up. Because then guess what, you are going to be expected to love that person because you
Yes.
chose that person. So
Right.
it's going to be your choice down the road. So that's just what it is.
Thank you so much for sharing such profound information with our
You're
viewers,
welcome. You're very welcome.
information to help us along our journey. You know, Gary L. Thomas said that women, if you simply follow your feelings, you are more likely to fall in love with a guy who will thrill you for 12 to 18 months as a boyfriend and then frustrate you for 5 to 6 decades as a husband.
Mm,
Guys, on the other hand, are more inclined to experience romantic love with women they are attracted to. I'm
mhm,
going to read that again, that part again. Guys, on the other hand,
mhm.
are more inclined to experience romantic love with women they are attracted to physically.
Okay.
Yet,
Hmm.
physical appearance is a thing that is most likely to change in a person's life.
Wow. So the main thing they're holding on is going to change,
Yeah.
because we do change.
Hence the reason for this live session today. We cannot go from looks.
No, 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 no.
We cannot go from emotional feelings. We have to apply the principles of God,
Amen.
knowing
Looking at
that
the
we,
heart.
yes, look into your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming and have a wonderful evening.